Amorim must sell Man United flop who earns far more than Garnacho. Manchester United certainly haven't set the world alight during the opening months of the new campaign, struggling to make a real impact in the Europa League and the Premier League. The Red Devils have only won 7 of their 17 outings so far, with 3 of those victories coming in the last 4 matches under temporary boss Ruud van Nistelrooy. The club legend conducted an excellent job of stabilizing a sinking ship, taking the reins on a temporary basis after the sacking of compatriot Ten Hag on the 28th of October. United claimed wins against Leicester City in the Carabao Cup along with the league, before finally getting their first European victory of the season against PAOK last week. Ten Hag's departure has given numerous first-team members a new lease of life, including one player who has impressed on the pitch in recent weeks. Alejandro Garnacho's stats in 2024-25. Over the last couple of years, Argentine winger Alejandro Garnacho has become a key member of the club's first team after impressing at various different youth levels. The 20-year-old made his first appearance for the Red Devils back in the 2021-22 season and hasn't gone back, amassing a total of over 100 games since and looking to be one of the best young talents in European football. Undoubtedly, the 2023-24 season was his best since his breakthrough into men's senior football, registering a total of 15 combined goals and assists in his 50 appearances across various competitions. Garnacho's highlight was his sensational overhead kick in the victory against Everton at Goodison Park, a goal that was subsequently awarded with the club's and Premier League's Goal of the Season award. However, the youngster appears to have started the new campaign like a man on a mission, blowing every other current first-team member out of the water within the final third. He's already notched 7 goals and 4 assists in his first 18 matches this campaign, only 4 off his total from 2023-24 despite playing 32 matches less, with his tally of contributions higher than any other United player. However, despite his excellent form, he still earns way less than one player whose transfer to Old Trafford has been nothing short of a disaster. Unlike Garnacho, he should be nowhere near the new manager's plans after the international break. The player Amorim must get rid of. Mason Mount arrived in a huge £60 million transfer from fellow Premier League side Chelsea last summer with the hope of adding even more to the club's already impressive midfield department. The former England international has failed to produce his best football in the Northwest, with injuries playing a real part in halting his progression after his transfer. Mount was restricted to only 20 appearances in all competitions in his debut year, scoring just 1 goal as he only featured for 513 minutes across the entire Premier League campaign. The new season represented a new opportunity for the 25-year-old, but ultimately, it's been the same result over 3 months in, already suffering a fresh hamstring injury, only making 2 starts with the rest as late substitute appearances. It's safe to say the former Chelsea ace hasn't had the impact many would have envisaged upon his arrival, looking no way near worth the big money splashed out on his signature. However, the deal looks to be even worse when taking his weekly earnings into account, bleeding the club and looking to be a disastrous addition by former boss Ten Hag. Mount earns a reported £250,000 per week, earning 5 times more than the aforementioned Garnacho, who only pockets £50,000 per week despite his stellar form over the last 18 months. New boss Ruben Amorim seriously needs to work hard in January to find a January move for the midfielder, ending his time at Old Trafford, with the Red Devils needing to quickly cut their losses. A cost-cutting system has been implemented at the club since Sir Jim Ratcliffe's arrival, with backroom staff and behind-the-scenes members losing their jobs, but they should look no further than the first team and offload a player who is earning a ludicrous amount of money. MU faction chaos, Amorim will act to get the team, the coach. Will the Portuguese faction, including Bruno Fernandes, Diogo Dalot, or the domestic faction Luke Shaw, Mason Mount, Harry Maguire, Kobbie Mainoo be favoured under Ruben Amorim? Will the Eredivisie faction, including Matthijs de Ligt, Joshua Zirkzee, Nasser Mazraoui, Anthony, Lisandro Martinez, lose support after coach Ten Hag leaves? At first glance, there are personnel problems at MU, but the story is not like that. The Dutchification strategy was wrong from the start. Defender Matthijs de Ligt recently explained, "I didn't come to MU because of Ten Hag." Everyone knows that de Ligt has a close relationship with coach Ten Hag. Both rose in Dutch football, and Ten Hag once coached de Ligt at Ajax Amsterdam. De Ligt explained that he chose United in the last transfer window because it was a big club and suited to his development. Why didn't de Ligt say so at the beginning of the season, when Ten Hag was still in charge? And why did de Ligt have to emphasize that he came to United not because of Ten Hag, when this coach clearly failed and was fired? The situation of coaches recruiting suitable players, even familiar players, is too common in top-flight football. In fact, any coach who doesn't do so is abnormal, is wrong. The difference is only that the players fit the coach's own views and philosophy. That's one thing, the formation of factions is another. The result of the heroic argument. When Ten Hag recruited 11 players from the Dutch Eredivisie to United, more than half of whom came from his old club Ajax, and United fell to the worst level in their history, it was clear that he had failed. The truth, for example, is that Ten Hag only trusts old acquaintances, or that he has selected players carefully and objectively, then that is no longer important. More than a dozen players from the Eredivisie, which has a lower level of expertise than the major leagues around, is a strategy that seems wrong from the beginning. How can MU compete for the top spot in the Premier League with a squad that increasingly resembles an Eredivisie team? On the other hand, if Ten Hag openly shows his way of working, then it is no surprise that outside the system stars like Bruno Fernandes have shown no vitality under the guidance of this coach. It is not necessary and should not be questioned whether Fernandes intentionally plays badly to make Ten Hag lose his job. Fernandes cannot play well even if he wants to. Now that United have been handed over to coach Ruben Amorim, will his compatriots, like Fernandes or Diogo Dalot, thrive? Not sure. But they have a better chance because United will not follow the Dutch path as in Ten Hag's time, which means they will no longer be at a disadvantage. The coach's personality decides the problem. A few years ago, MU itself, in Ralf Rangnick's time, also encountered internal chaos, with about a dozen players demanding to leave the club. Sometimes it was the Cristiano Ronaldo side, and the other side. National teams often encounter this problem. The Spanish team has the Real wing, and the Barcelona wing. The German team has the Bayern wing, and the Leverkusen wing. The Belgian team is often divided into 3 factions, according to the player's language. Usually, the story starts with a cultural issue, when players form close groups, according to personal interests. Big clubs always have groups of players who overlap in lifestyle and language, for example, the South American group. It won't be a big problem until the differences between groups of players in the team spread to technical issues. For example, a player only passes the ball to his best friend. As a result, some outstanding individuals became lost, gradually drifted to the bench, and demanded to leave. At this time, the leadership's mettle was the deciding factor in success or failure. When the talented striker Fernando Torres could not integrate into the tiki-taka style of play of the Barcelona players, coach Vicente del Bosque chose the 4-3-3-0 formation rather than having no striker. and Spain won major tournaments in a row. Football is a team sport, while factions in the team are personal matters. In principle, when the factions problem becomes serious, the team will almost certainly fail. The head coach is the one who decides the level of factions as well as the success or failure of the team. At MU, how will Amorim make a difference? As mentioned, coach Ten Hag has gathered too many players from the Dutch national championship. But the bad thing is that he has not created anything significant from his efforts. Would such a team aim for technical, creative play? Would they try to score many goals, even if it means conceding many goals? The most obvious failure of MU under Ten Hag is that this team has absolutely no identity, no remarkable characteristics in the way it plays. No one knows what Ten Hag wants to do, what he is aiming for, in the way he builds his team. Moreover, the failure in terms of results is too obvious. To put it bluntly, MU under Ten Hag is like a team without a coach. As said, turning MU into a Dutch-like team, in terms of force, means weakening this team, in theory. It can be inferred that the upcoming coach Ruben Amorim will not advocate Portuguesization or sporting Lisbonization, and then follow in Ten Hag's footsteps. That means there will be no Portuguese faction dominating the MU squad. Amorim can help Bruno Fernandes develop his personal value. He can recruit favourite disciples from Sporting in the upcoming transfer windows. But the way of playing is the most important thing. Everyone knows about Amorim's coaching style as well as his achievements at Sporting. And everyone is waiting for him to build a MU with lines, shapes and personalities, instead of waiting to see how many Portuguese players he uses, or how many Eredivisie players he eliminates. Some initial characteristics have been mentioned. For example, Amorim's team will play with 3 central defenders, mainly in a 3-4-3 formation, or old man Manuel Ugarte will reunite with Amorim at MU. Those are just specific details. During these days, when the club arena was temporarily suspended to make way for the national teams, Amorim met with the MU players at the training ground, who were not wearing the national team jersey. He gave the first message: everyone must be happy. No matter how many teams there are, Amorim's MU must first look like a football team, with a coach. Then they will be better.